Hello. Welcome to our January Life Hacks program, Cruisin in the Kitchen. Today, Dusty Hardister will be talking about things to do in the kitchen.
Am I on? All right. My name is Dusty Hardister, and I have a bakery here in Bartlesville that's called Dusty Rose Cakes. I run with my little girl, Rosie. We're going to start a series here at the library for people that are just beginning to cook. So today we're not going to do any cooking. We're just going to do a little segment on basic kitchen equipment and some pantry supplies that you're going to need to start a kitchen if you're just getting your own apartment or at your dorm, or even adults that are just learning how to cook. So, well, first of all, you're going to need a stove and an oven. You'll also need a refrigerator, freezer. Those are kind of a given. Microwave is definitely optional. Everybody, I think, cooks in a microwave. Do you guys have a microwave? You know, I've worked at the shop for 2.5 years now and haven't needed a microwave, so that is definitely optional. But you'll definitely need pots and pans, a pot with a lid for boiling. You can do potatoes in here, pasta, soups. You'll need a kind of a saucepan, a couple of different sizes. This is a little bit larger, maybe a small one. A small skillet. Can you guys see that? And a large skillet with a lid. And then kitchen utensils. These are really a must. A whisk. You'll need some little rubber spatulas, pastry brush, some tongs, a ladle for soups and stews. This is a microplane. This is when you kind of get into some fancier cooking. You might need one of those. And then spatula. I don't know if I already said that one. Definitely some mixing bowls. Let's see. Anything else I'm forgetting? For baking, you'll need some baking sheets for doing cookies and things like that. You can also do sheet pan meals, things like that. Casseroles. And oven mitts, pot holders, those are definitely a must. You need those for, if you have boiling water, you don't want to put your hands like this and touch this. And then, you'll want to stock your pantry up. This here at the library is pretty well stocked with all of the basics that you'll need. Definitely salt and pepper, you're going to want those. Oils, olive oil, vegetable oil for sauteing and frying, which we'll learn later. Vinegars for making salad dressings and just adding a little punch to some of your recipes. Rice, you'll definitely need rice, pasta, potatoes, onions, garlic. A good way to get a list like this is to go on Pinterest, when you're first getting your own place, and you can print those off and you'll have them. And then, when you want to get in the kitchen, you'll have potatoes, you'll have eggs, milk, all the dairy and all that you'll need. See what else? Beans, dried, canned. You'll need broths for soup. Canned tomatoes and tomato sauce are really good to, make spaghetti, and if you want to start some soups and things like that. Canned fish. Do you guys keep those things in your kitchens? I try to keep my pantry stocked with some of those things, but not always. But it's nice to be able to go in the pantry and just, get a few things and, make a meal for yourself with a recipe that you find. And again, Pinterest is a good place to find recipes. In the fridge, you're really just going to need some condiments, basic condiments, mayo, mustard, ketchup, dairy, milk, almond milk, cheeses. see what we have in this one. Sour cream, there's soy sauce, hot sauce. Really, the sky is the limit. Spices, they have a really good thing of spices here at the library. At my house, I usually keep garlic, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper. Those are really the basic ones. Cinnamon, if you want to make like cinnamon toast or like, like in your baking. And for baking, you just want to keep like flour, sugar, cornmeal, oats, all your leavening agents like soda, baking powder, yeast, cocoa, vanilla. And then you'll need your fats too. We talked about olive oil, but you'll also want to keep some butter around for baking if you want to do cookies and things like that. These are brown rice noodles. I've never used these. So like, it's really good because even if you don't have anything else, you can get in the kitchen. See what else for the freezer. Fish, hamburger, things like that, frozen veggies and fruit. And see what else. I kind of feel like we're all over the place, but definitely garlic powder, like onion powder, because you use those in just about every, or I do, in every sauce. And then, I like an Italian seasoning blend too, I use quite often. Let's see, this one's got some fancy ones that I don't use a whole lot. Parsley is a good one because it's such a neutral flavor. You can use that in a lot of soups and stews and fish. Cinnamon, I always have cinnamon around. And then chives is always a good one too. And then I use cilantro a lot if I'm going to be like in making salsa. I like a lot of fresh herbs too. I buy fresh cilantro, fresh parsley, and you can find those at any of the stores. They really say that they have a shelf, but I always use mine up really before they go bad, but they just sort of lose their potency. They don't really like go bad to me. As long as you keep the lid on really good and like keep them in the pantry, they just start losing their potency. I think a year, you really should change them out, but I probably have some cloves in my pantry that I've had for like 5 years. I think it probably just depends on the herb. Start losing the flavor after a while. Yeah, you definitely need oven mitts and, pot holders. You want those for sure. I saw something here in the drawer. Chopping, especially for beginners, it'll keep you from slicing, something you don't want to slice, your finger. I remember these from cooking school. We had these. These say anti-cut and heat resistant. That's for some basic chopping techniques. So that might be good to have for someone that's never used a knife. You really need a good knife. That's really important to have a nice knife. There's a bunch of knives here and, cutting board. Those are very important. Here we have a can opener. We also have measuring spoons and measuring cups. These are up to for liquid. And then I use one of these all the time at the shop, like lemon bars and stuff like that for squeezing your lemons. I do oranges in those too. That's nice to have. Let's see. It's nice to have for, especially for the potatoes. We'll do some potatoes too later. Here's a pizza cutter. That's good for, like, you know, slicing dough and things like that too, a pizza cutter. So what else, you guys? Any other questions? I've never used an Instapot, believe it or not. I mean, it's so popular, I don't know why. But yeah, I use a crock pot every day. And like when my daughter first got her apartment, that was one of the first things I got her was the crock pot because, you know, there's so many things you can do. You can even bake a cake in one. So definitely a crock pot. You know, the microwave, it's kind of probably now, or they think they do, but and then blender is really good to have too for smoothies and, you know, even making sauces and later on if you start doing some fancier soups, you know, a lot of it you can put in the food processor or the blender. I use my food processor every day, like when I make carrot cakes, you know, I blend the carrots or crush those up for carrot cake. So, and then, you know, a hand mixer, at least a hand mixer for making cake. Like a nice one like we have here, a big KitchenAid. That's really awesome to have. I think I was probably over 30 years old before I had one. Now I have 3. But yeah, they're amazing to have, especially when we get into like cookies and you know, baking. So. Yeah, a fire extinguisher. I have one at the shop. You know, I have to have one up there. But yeah, you definitely need a fire extinguisher for sure. Because yeah, you don't want to throw water on your grease fire. That wouldn't be good. Yeah. Fresh veggies, you know, definitely. I think you should always keep things around to make a fresh salad. Because you know, I think every meal is good with, you know, lettuce, tomato, onion. But, you know, like at my house, I always have a bag of potatoes, a bag of onions, because, you know, you can make soups and things like that, or just roasted potatoes, mashed potatoes. We live in Oklahoma, so you definitely need those around. Fresh garlic is another good one. You know, you can add a lot of flavor to just about anything with just some, you know, fresh garlic cloves. And the herbs, you know, of course, I think turn just a boring. If you throw some fresh herbs, better. No, you really wouldn't want to substitute one for the other. I know in like cookie baking, you know, I don't know the like exact science behind. I really should since I'm a baker, but I know that baking powder makes things puff, and like baking soda makes things spread. So like if you had too much baking powder or baking soda in your cookie, you know, your cookie's gonna go spread out all over the pan. So a lot of recipes call for both, you know, baking powder and soda. So, yep. And then if you add, you know, baking powder or baking soda to your vinegar, it'll make like this frothy, like science experiment too. So that's fun. Yeah, I have a few recipes. Most of my cookie recipes I'll ask. Yeah. And salt is a big one too. I mean, you've got to have it. I keep a little dish of kosher salt at home and at the on, but I use it in all my sweets, salt, savory baking and sweet baking. So, well, this one's pretty well organized. You know, That way, you can just reach and grab one instead of like digging in a drawer. Because, especially a set of tongs, this has always got like the drawer. It's always caught up with tongs. So I always keep this one kind of on the side. And then, a pantry. Parsley, things like that, where I'd have to go get them, Because, but this is nice. I mean, if you had something like this, which you can buy a set like this, you could just keep it out on display because it's pretty. So, but yeah, that's pretty much. And then, like things for your fridge. Like I always tell my daughter, just, if you have stuff to make cereal, if you have stuff to make sandwiches, you're always, and then if you keep all those basic. In the freezer, fruits too, meats, fish, things like that. Let's see, I had one I was thinking of. Hash browns are another good one that are easy. We'll use frozen hash browns, like if I'm making a breakfast burrito, or if you're making breakfast, that's a good one to have, so you don't have to like peel potatoes. It's just kind of an easy, semi-homemade. Veggies too, that like the steamers, I've seen those too that are always good to have. It's really hard. And like before I came today, I'm making a list of things that you'll need, in the kitchen, and really, it's if you have those basics on hand,